podcast is not fiction. This podcast is a podcast in which four friends get together and try to amaze each other with facts about science. Facts about how we know things about the world, enough that someone else on the podcast will say,
Holy fucking science!
I'm Hank Green. I've come to you with a beer in my hand and a cookie in my other hand to talk to you. People who are watching the video know that I don't have a cookie in my other hand. It was all lies.
You already ate the
I
cookie.
forgot it was a video podcast too.
You can hold a cookie.
There is
another
Now
cookie.
it can be true.
Now it's true. And I've been joined by Stefan Chin.
Hi.
Hello.
When you said 4 friends, I was hoping you were going to say 4 adult friends.
4 adult. Well, there's not
Ooh.
even 4 friends. Well, if you count Caitlin. Because I guess no. Yeah.
You're a friend.
I count. Ceri Riley.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm one of the friends.
Your
I guess.
friend.
Yeah.
And friend Sam Schultz.
Hi, I forgot to say holy fucking science.
Oh my God, you're fired.
I'm
I said it
Sorry.
twice.
You
at the
said it
same
twice?
time.
Whoa.
Tibetan throat singing.
Tibetan throat sang holy
Yeah.
fucking science.
Cool. Where's the other one come out of?
It's all the
Your
same hole.
nose,
Your butt.
your butt, or your nose? That's the only holes.
Yeah. It's good. It's good to sing out your butt. Lepetamine that shit. And today
Wait,
we're
what?
What?
Is that a thing?
Lepetamine that shit.
Who's
you
it?
guys don't know about
What's
lepetamine?
No.
No.
None of you?
I don't know what that is.
He was a fartist.
No,
He was
way.
a guy. He farted for a living.
Was he
a
French?
French guy.
Yeah.
He
Huh.
fell into
Adds
he fell into the ocean one day. It was very cold. This is the story
Okay.
he told people. I doubt it's true. He fell into the ocean. It was so cold that his colon opened up and sucked in a great gush of frigid water. And ever after that moment, he was able to suck air into his anus, into his rectum intentionally,
huh.
and then expel it. And he could blow trumpets and play Yankee
Weird.
Doodle and yeah.
When was this?
Late enough that there are some audio recordings
That's
of
what I was
him, but
gonna
early
say,
enough
yeah.
that there aren't a lot.
Okay, but no, there's no video or film of him.
No
don't
YouTube
think there's-
vids.
I don't think there's video, but there might be.
Has anyone else ever been able to do this?
As far as I know, no one has ever been able to fart the way and to the quality of lepetamine.
Huh.
Did they smell?
I didn't sniff lepetamine farts ever.
Okay.
Not a single
I
time.
probably like a
Interesting.
little bit. I don't think there's a way to have air go into and out of your rectum without
Without
it
it
smelling.
smelling?
The topic of the day has nothing to do with anything we've talked about yet so far. It is radiation. I don't think that lepetamine has anything to do with, except that everybody, in the way that everybody does, he had some potassium in his body.
Yeah.
radiation farts. And
Have
I
we
guess
done an
a
episode
radiation,
about farts yet?
I don't know if we've done a sci show on farts.
No, like this
Oh,
about
this.
farts.
Oh,
HFS.
we could do a whole HFS on farts for
Yeah.
sure.
So how are we deciding who goes first today?
I guess the person who was exposed to the most radiation today.
Oh, that's...
Oh.
Well, I don't imagine it's that significantly different for any of us.
Probably not.
Well, who
What
was
about
ever-
eating a
whoever was
ban-
outside the most, probably.
Or eating a
Oh,
banana.
That's what I was
Wouldn't
going to
that
say.
be a
Who
thing?
ate a
I did eat
banana
half a
most
banana.
recently?
It was a pretty big banana, too.
You ate
so
half a banana
it
today?
Might, in some countries, it may have been a whole banana.
Ooh.
But in America, where they come real big, it was
Right.
a half. It was, it was a hunk.
I had a whole banana today
Oh.
for lunch.
Was it a hunker?
I had none.
I had no bananas.
It's a normal,
Did you say a hunker?
Was it a hunker?
a normal, conventionally grown banana.
Okay. Well, so I think Stefan has been exposed to more
To
banana
more
radiation
BEDs.
today than
Yeah.
me.
Did you go outside
When was the
at
last
all?
time you had a banana, Sam?
God. Last week, maybe?
Ceri.
I had banana bread on Saturday.
Sure.
Oh.
So
That
I don't
counts.
know.
Does cooking it get rid of the radiation?
Probably not.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
That would be very weird if it changed the atomic composition of a banana just to heat it up.
Doesn't sound weird to me.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
like,
on your
when you
page,
cook
Stefan.
with alcohol, the alcohol just goes away. When you cook with radiation, then it's clean.
I mean, I guess you do cook with radiation. What heats up your dish is mostly
That's true.
mostly
That's true.
infrared, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something
Probably
like
with
that.
world.
I don't
what's
know.
getting beamed in there. We should tell everybody that they're irradiating their food every time they put it in the oven.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
oh,
Even ovens.
Be afraid.
the
Be afraid.
irradiator.
Even regular ovens.
Yeah, cool.
So I
Don't
guess
be-
Stefan
So am I
is-
going
is
first?
the most radioactive
Thing.
today because
I'm feeling it. Chernobyl was a thing that happened.
I remember. I will. Do I?
I actually. How do you remember when it was?
I don't know. I was born in 80.
Oh, okay. So it happened in April 25th to 26th, 1986, which is like a week after I was born.
I could remember that.
So
I don't.
So Chernobyl happened, big power plant meltdown, and there's like the exclusion zone now around that area, And in this thing that I was reading, it was an article that was talking about a couple studies. But in the article, they said that no one lives there, but there's actually like about 100 people live in the exclusion zone.
Like, are they supposed to be there?
So right after the accident, there were about 1,000 people, mostly women, who wanted to go back because they felt such a deep connection to their home.
Okay.
And at first they didn't let them go, but then eventually they were like, well, I guess we'll let...
You know what you're
They're
signing
like
up
mostly
for.
older women, like we'll let them go back and die in peace or whatever. And so there were about 1,000. Now there's
It's
only
Russia.
about 100
We die.
left.
We know how this works.
Something like that,
when we
sure.
die.
So anyways, that was just a random thing with the article that I was like, no, that's not right. I know people live there.
Okay.
So they were talking about the random effects that people have noticed of like wildlife in the area. Like birds in the zone have much smaller brains. Trees grow slower. There are fewer bugs, and game that's caught in the zone or even outside the zone, as far as Germany, have dangerous levels of radiation.
So I shouldn't eat any European ungulates.
No jerky.
No jerky. Okay.
And one of the things they noticed was that there was a significant accumulation of like leaf litter over time. And so they were trying to figure out what was going on there. Because normally, like when things die off, like microbes, insects, everything decomposes all this organic matter, and that gets recycled back into the soil. So that's a pretty important part of ecosystems. I guess there was also the red forest, where right after the accident, all the pine trees in this forest turned red and died. I didn't know about that, but then but those trees are not decaying.
Okay.
So
Because everything else died as well.
Yeah.
It's sort of interesting to think of like usually when you get something to not decay, it's because it's been buried and like it's super anoxic, like no oxygen around, and then fossilized. But this is just like it's not decaying because everything keeps dying.
Everything is dead. So what they did is they took 600 mesh bags, filled them with uncontaminated leaves, and then half of the bags were lined with pantyhose. So those bags were supposed to be isolated from the insects, whereas just the mesh bags would be like insects could get in and eat the leaves also.
Right.
And so they distributed these bags around the area in like varying levels of radiation. And then after a year, they collected them and found that where there's no radiation, 70 to 90% of the mass of the leaves was gone. But in areas with the radiation, only 40% of the leaves.
And this
were
was
gone.
both for mesh bags and pantyhose bags?
Yes. Actually, I'm not sure. What they didn't say specifically.
Right.
I don't think it's just what they said is that they found that the insects do play a role, but that the microbes are a bigger role.
Right, okay. And the microbes get into the pantyhose. Because they're microbes.
Yes, because they're microbes. But so there are still microbes, which I was surprised that it was still 40%. So there's still something living there, but they're just like, I don't know, the radiation hardy versions.
Was there any difference between like closer to the radiation and further away? It's just like...
as far as I know, they didn't specify.
Okay.
It was just like they had compared no radiation to radiation.
Okay.
So then the other thing is that, and this was a separate study because of the accumulated leaf litter, they're worried about fires. And so they were doing controlled burn experiments in like small areas to like see what would happen if there was a fire. And they found that there were like several orders of magnitude increase of like radioactive contaminants being like
into the air.
Into the air. Into the neighboring areas. So there's there's a growing concern that in the near future or in the future there will be a really bad wildfire or something that will destroy
depending on
the
which way
area.
the wind is blowing. Like it's bad enough to like breathe in a bunch of smoke. It's worse if it's Chernobyl smoke.
Chernobyl smoke, yeah.
Are there just not very many wildfires in
I don't know.
Europe or what?
I don't really hear about them.
Yeah.
I don't think that they have very many forests compared to the U.S.
Yeah.
I feel like I maybe said something mean just now, but we have a lot of forests.
They got the Black Forest. That's it.
Yeah.
Like the ham.
If one
Yeah.
falls.
I've heard about they have glens.
Mm-hmm. But those seem wet. They all sound very wet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
a lot of
Maybe it's
moisture.
just very wet in Europe.
Yeah.
So they don't have a lot of fires.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
mostly
don't
imagine
actually know where
that they're
Chernobyl
just,
is.
They're just not
on the map.
Uh,
Oh, is it
I also
not in
don't know.
Russia?
It's in the Ukraine.
It's in the Ukraine. What the heck do I know? Okay, so it's pretty close to Europe. I mean, it is in Europe. It is in Europe.
So close.
That is what I meant. I promise.
There is zero distance between Chernobyl and Europe.
Nobody expects you to know geography, though.
Yeah, this
No,
isn't
that's
holy
not-
geography.
That's not my job.
So I mean that's all the stuff that I read basically, but like there's no solution that they know of yet. Like there's no obvious way to fix these issues. They just know now that these are some issues that they, I guess, should be thinking about or maybe trying to figure out. But they are collaborating with like people in Fukushima to see if they're experiencing the same things there.
I feel like, what do you do with a bunch of radioactive leaves?
Because you can't burn them.
You can't burn
them.
it.
That is the first thing you definitely can't do.
Oh.
You can't.
Can
I
we-
wouldn't bury them either, probably.
Can you throw them in the
I'd
ocean?
bury them if I
Maybe.
could.
But then
Yeah.
they could get into the. I don't know how I don't know a lot
They
about
did say
radiation,
that
but like
the-
groundwater
Yeah,
pollution.
It's mostly the topsoil that's affected
right.
here.
yeah.
So as like, I'm just like, does somebody needs to go rake? Is that what's up?
Someone put on a hazmat
hazmat
suit.
Yeah,
suit,
just
yeah.
like, I gotta go to my job raking Chernobyl.
They
Not
could like
good.
put them in those
Whoa.
tanks that they put nuclear waste and other things in, like all the Superfund sites in the U.S.
Yeah.
They create special trenches for those. So
Yeah.
that's where
Yeah.
they'll put them if someone goes
Oh,
out
yeah.
and rakes.
Butte has a bunch of messed up topsoil. They built parks over it.
Yeah, you just
So-
put like 6 inches of dirt on top,
Yeah.
you're fine.
and some weird vents. There's like these weird
There are
vent
vents,
things.
Huh.
Yeah, yeah.
And then a playground.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you put a baseball, like a kid's baseball field on top
Yeah.
of it, and a driving range. Yeah, they could do that.
Yeah.
We solved it.
My first
A
thought
huge
is
golf
like-
course.
Use CRISPR to design
Sure.
microbes
Oh,
that
that'd
can
be cool.
survive there.
Yeah.
That like,
Well, it feels like that's gonna happen through natural selection eventually.
I mean, yeah.
There definitely are microbes that are,
yeah, doing
if
their
not
thing.
radiotrophic, they
Yeah.
can survive in radiation. Did they do a study on the bags afterward and be like, and actually look what was inside each of them?
Oh, like the species?
Yeah,
No, not that I know of.
Why?
Yeah, they should do that.
they should do that. Yeah.
would love to know that.
That would be, yeah.
That's
yeah.
my first question. Is like, what is in the bags?
That was
instead of
not
just-
in
And they're
all
just
the
like,
stuff that
well,
I
we
read.
don't care.
I didn't
Dumb.
have access.
They're in the trash.
Yeah.
I didn't have access to the full original study, so I was mostly reading like condensed versions of
Yeah.
them.
It's possible that they did it and we're like, we found 200 species. I don't know what would be
Yeah.
a good number. Species of microbes. We couldn't tell what was doing most of the
Yeah,
decomposition.
yeah.
I don't know.
It's
Yeah.
just like, it's weird that Chernobyl is like this great scientific experiment
Right.
zone where it's like, well, we do have one place where there's a lot of radiation.
Yeah.
We could study that. And it's been there a long time now. We could see sort of the long-term impacts and be like, well, if ever we did have a nuclear war, at least we got like a dry run.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess so.
Everything's got smaller brains and
Smaller brains,
slower.
dead trees.
I mean,
yeah.
I guess it's kind of cool that my dead body would not decompose.
They'd find a way. You got all those
Yeah,
bacteria
Just
decompose
stuff
a
inside
little
of
bit.
you
40%.
will come out of you
Yeah,
first.
40%.
I'm sticking around though. 60% is sticking
There's-
around.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of great mummies if we ever kill ourselves with nuclear war.
Oh,
that's
man.
that's for
Yeah.
no one to find.
And that one, the fungus species, that's what I thought you were
Yeah.
going to bring up too. There's like a fungus species by Chernobyl that lives off of radiation.
Actually eats the radiation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it has melanocytes or something that we think convert gamma radiation into energy.
That sounds creepy.
They're going to be growing, so it'll be mummies, but with little mushrooms on top.
Yeah. My question, yes. My question is, could there be just like a Dyson sphere of radiotrophic mushrooms out there somewhere?
Maybe.
In space?
Yeah. Just like they figured, and it was just like they covered the entire
Oh my
orbit
God.
around and they just like suck up that gamma radiation. That's all they need. They don't need oxygen. They don't need an atmosphere.
Well-
They do need carbon and stuff to build their bodies.
Huh.
So that's probably important. But I'm just imagining that maybe there are like 30 times as many stars as we think there are, but they're all just blotted out by their Dyson sphere of mushrooms.
So physics question, and I don't know the answer. If you had a Dyson sphere of microbes or something like microbes,
Yeah.
wouldn't they end up in like a ring around the planet?
There's a number of reasons why this wouldn't work. Yes, they would have to have extreme structural integrity.
Yeah, they would have had to build a scaffolding or something
Ooh.
first, right?
They hold hands.
Yeah.
But once one of them evolves, they can just go from
Yeah.
planet from sun to sun, blotting it out. Maybe we got one spore showing up right now, and our whole sun's gonna get
Whoa.
blotted out in the course of the next 10,000
you got to trademark
years.
this idea. Someone's going to
This
write
is
a
a
book
movie.
about it.
I love
Is Bruce
giving
Willis
away
still
ideas.
acting?
No.
I don't
Who's
know.
Bruce?
Somebody email him.
Bruce Willis?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
Yeah,
still
all
acting,
right.
I
We
think.
can do this movie then.
All right.
It's greenlit. Let's go.
The radioactive mushroom is blocking the sun.
This is an idea that I've always had that I think that somebody tried to steal. I'll explain that in a second.
Okay.
You make a movie that is a sequel to two movies at once. So you make this is the
yeah.
idea I had Jurassic Park 3 at the time.
And Pride and Prejudice.
No. Jurassic Park 3 Con Air 2 where the cons crash on Jurassic
Yes.
Park and then they fight dinosaurs.
Like after there's been a super like exodus of all the tourists because the dinosaurs got
Yeah,
out, and then
yeah.
we don't know what to do with
It's a
them.
wild dinosaur.
Right.
Island. It's maybe whatever the other one where they grow the dinosaurs is.
Yeah.
And then I think they were gonna. There's gonna be. Yeah. Is it Isla Nublar?
I don't know.
Or
I
the
think
other
that's
one?
the one where that. I don't know.
Then somebody tried to make 21 Jump Street 21 Jump Street 3 Men in Black 4, which I think would have been really good. But this movie could be like Men in Black 4 Armageddon 2 or Independence Day 3.
Oh, there we go. That's the one.
Independence
Armageddon
Day
2.
3, Armageddon
Yes.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
TM.
They were
Trademark.
like, well, we couldn't fight them with our giant alien spaceships and the sentient beings, so we sent along
We sent
fungus.
one. Yeah. Yeah. Whoa.
Or they just left it. They left it behind. They were like, oh, well, that didn't work.
Well,
Have a
yeah.
fungus. You'll be dead in 10,000 years anyway.
Is there a book about the like ecological effects of it? Like you kill all the aliens who come to invade your planet and they leave behind something gross that then kills
Yeah,
you.
they're like
Yeah.
Trademark
gut
that idea
bacteria.
too. Nobody listen to this podcast.
Man, I gotta tell you, like, in terms of first contact fiction, there isn't much that hasn't been done.
I bet this one hasn't been done. And I'm the guy to do it.
All right. I got a weird one for you guys today.
Yeah.
So, in the Java Sea, there are a bunch of shipwrecks from World War II, where these big old destroyers and aircraft carriers got, sunk by Japan. What happens, and a lot of people died. It's very sad, and so there's rules for what happens to a ship when it sinks during a war, and that rule is one, the country that owns the ship, no matter where it sinks, still owns the ship. So if it sinks on the land of Japan and it's sitting there, the U.S. government still owns it, even if it's on Mount Fuji or in the middle of Tokyo, the U.S. government still owns the ship. And also there's sort of like etiquette, which is don't take pictures of human remains, don't take stuff away, even if you think maybe it would be good to put in a museum or good to maybe you could return something to a family. Like, no, everything stays down there. That's the rule. This is like sacred people died here spot. And so, but you can go visit them oftentimes. Sometimes there's sort of off limits, but most of the time you can go and visit these shipwrecks, which have become artificial reefs, and there's lots of weird ecosystem stuff going on, and also it's just historically interesting. So there's a season in which this is done in Java, and one year when the season began, the people who sort of ran these tourist trips go to one of the ships, and it's just not there anymore.
Huh.
Ooh.
Whoa.
And over several years, multiple of these battleships disappear. Completely disappear. And before this had happened, they noticed that parts of the ships were starting to disappear, and so there were people are taking pieces of these ships.
Yeah.
But to figure out but why would you take the whole ship? What salvage operation justifies that? What is the cost associated with removing an entire battleship in one season? Going out there and illicitly, so not a government, not basically pirates, kind of
But it has to do with
salvaging.
radiation.
But it has to do with radiation, which is
But
real
not-
weird.
The munitions.
This is so these ships were sunk in 1942. They were sunk before
Like nuclear warheads.
nuclear warheads.
Right.
And that is actually the reason why. This is really weird. So it turns out that salvaging steel is worthwhile. You can get a lot of money for like just the steel.
Yeah.
But salvaging steel made before nuclear tests, you can make way more money
Huh.
because every piece of steel that exists now, that we make now, has pieces of the current atmosphere in
Yeah.
it, like just stuff from the atmosphere, because they blow oxygen over the steel as part of the steel making process. And that comes along with radioactive isotopes that didn't exist before
Yeah.
the giant proliferation of nuclear tests that happened in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And so now you can't produce steel. Like you could do it, but it would be extremely expensive. You can't produce steel that isn't a little bit radioactive. And sometimes you need to build something big out of steel that detects radiation. And if the steel is radioactive, it becomes like that is a problem for the sensitivity of the instrument.
Yeah.
So these are usually medical instruments that are like used in radiation therapy or in like they give you a radioactive something that you drink and it like shows them like a tracer. It shows them in the area of your body where the thing goes or if it's in your blood or whatever. So they need to build that, but they need to build it with steel that doesn't have any radioactive signature. So they were like, where do we find steel that was smelted before World War II? And there's a good place, warships that were built. Because warships, like unlike, commercial ships, warships are made of steel. Like everything is steel. Commercial ships, you're trying to be light, you're trying to be efficient, you're trying to get from point A to point B with the smallest amount of fuel. Warships are like, I want to be able to have a plane crash into me and be okay. So warships are extremely heavy, full of tons and tons, like hundreds and thousands of tons of structural steel that apparently is going on the black market for a high enough price that because it doesn't have any radiation in it, that it's
economically
worthwhile
viable.
to, in one season, get a whole bunch of people together and pull a whole like
Dredge up.
destroyer out of the like deep sea. Like these things are like 100, 200 feet down.
Yeah.
They're not like on the shoals.
Because you're pulling up the water weight then too, right?
I mean, you're pulling up all the barnacles that's on it. Like these things they've been down there for like 60, 70 years.
Would it be
crazy.
easier to trace it all because it doesn't have radiation in it, or like once it's
Once
melted
they melt
down?
it,
So do we know who's doing it?
we don't know who's doing it.
Are medical supply companies buying this?
They're buying it, but they're buying it in Asia. So
Yeah, so
American
they don't
medical supply
know.
companies aren't buying this steel.
Okay. Well, they don't know, but they know.
Well, yeah, they don't ask.
Right.
Yeah.
And before they found out that the ships were gone, they didn't know to ask.
Right.
Yeah. When did that happen? When did they when?
This I don't honestly know. Let me see if there's a date for you. 2001, 2002 is the first. No, it was when they found the first wrecks. So this was fairly recently. So there's a picture of this ship in 2015,
And it's gone now.
It's gone now.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Man, that's so interesting. Because I've heard of like radiation being used to date paintings or things like that. Like unveil. That was two words. Unveil.
I mean, it wasn't one
Reveal
word.
and-
And reveal, unveil and reveal.
unveil, yeah.
Ooh.
Like art forgeries, but
Right.
this is like the opposite. This is to create something that's
Yeah.
Yeah. And like worthwhile machines.
Yeah.
like
Important things that
Yeah.
people need.
Mm-hmm.
Weird.
Yeah, but like you imagine in the process of like digging, like pulling these things up, you're pulling everything up, and of
Right.
course, first you have what disappears first is brass things. So like the propeller might be made of brass, which is stronger because the propeller can get torn up really fast, and then like some portholes are brass. The ship's bell might be brass. So they bring that stuff up because you can get a higher price. But then eventually it's just like, yeah, steel, all of it, the whole thing. Everything's
Yeah.
made of steel. Bring it all up. Which I don't know how they did it. And there's like
Yeah.
nothing left. Usually,
Yeah.
like they're saying, usually you have like the frame of the ship left because they'd go bolt by bolt by bolt
Right.
and take the plates off. But they came back and there was a depression where the ship once was.
So it's like they just brought a whole fleet and hooked all these ships up to this
just
one ship and like dragged it out.
hold it on up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I was super weirded out by that.
Yeah.
Like, and also it's like been bad for the economy of these countries too, because they rely somewhat on the tourist trade to come for for the diving expeditions, and also they were really good fishing spots, and now they aren't anymore because the fish like to live there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Dang.
That's really interesting.
Well,
So
now
there's a really, really well reported article on this in Outside magazine. You can read it at outside.com if you search for shipwreck illicit Java C radioactive steel. Yeah, you'll probably find it.
Is that how you search on Google?
keywords.
Yeah.
That's how I search on Google. I
you
just like
search on
put in
Google.
as many words as possible and hope that I find the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, the shocking thing was I typed in those things. I typed in like Outside, it's the name of the publication, Java C, steel, radio, and it was the second article down. I was like, what is this first article? It was to do with none of it. It was just a complete red herring. It was like a college admissions thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
I like when I am searching for a thing and I don't know exactly what I'm searching for. So then I'm like, oh, radioactive, weird, fun. And then I okay, enter. What do I got?
Yeah. Radioactive study, science, weird.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Holy fuck.
That's holy fucking science in a nutshell. Our searches the day before holy fucking science is just like, I don't know.
Top weirdest radioactive facts.
Yeah. Top 10 radiation facts. I'll pick one.
Yeah.
Is it my turn now?
Can I throw out a radiation fact?
No.
Fact.
It's my turn.
This is the intermission fact, Sam.
Oh, okay.
The ISS.
Is that a thing now?
IFS. Dang it.
The International Space Station.
Yes, that's what I wanted it to be. Anyways, the fun fact is that the radiation from the Voyager probe is still easily distinguishable from the background radiation, even though it's like 11 billion miles away.
So you can telescopes can detect it out there.
Something like that, yeah.
Neato. Something like that. I don't know. I'll tell you. I don't know what my fact.
I don't know
meant.
how
have
you
the
detect it.
fact.
You'll have to ask
You just
the
know that
fucking
it's
scientist, man.
detectable because
I don't know.
someone said it on a fact thing.
And now, after the intermediate science fact, or whatever you called it,
Intermission science.
the
facts.
intermission science fact, we have our sponsor, Big Sky Brewery. Thank you for supplying us.
Oh, I'm going to hide my
He's
can.
got a
It's
Coke.
Coke.
Big Sky IPA in my hand. This is bottled here in Missoula, Montana. And when I say bottled, I mean canned.
Both, probably.
Yeah,
It's
bottled
also
too.
bottled, yeah. And it's available in various states. You should check them out. If you ever see a Big Sky product at your store, I suggest putting it in your mouth if you're into that.
I
And
drink a whole lot of it lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Well, I mean, because of this.
Oh, just one a week.
I have two usually.
I think that Ceri had a banana more recently than you, Sam.
I did. I guess I had
But I
banana
thought
bread.
you had one less recently.
No,
than
I had
No,
one
he
this
had one
morning. I
today.
had a halfie. But it was a real hunker.
Right,
Remember?
and he had a hunker. He had a whole hunker. You had a half hunker.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Well, he doesn't actually
Right.
think his is a hunker,
can't-
so I might have had more banana than him because my half was a big half. I don't know, man. I was like, wow, look at these bananas
This is
Catherine
like-
bought. They're like the size of my forearm.
Can I tweet? Hank had a half hunker this morning.
Yeah.
A halfy hunker.
Catherine got a half hunker for me at the grocery store.
Wow.
You got half a banana? That's so rude.
Going.
Yeah, she just cut half off of every banana.
Oh
and
my
she was
God.
like,
Oh,
I don't
man.
like
I only need
the
half these
stems.
hunkers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used
Oh,
to be
that's so
confused about
rude.
grocery stores because my mom.
I used to be confused about grocery stores.
When I was very little, my mom would be in Asian supermarkets and she'd just like snack on things while we were shopping, and so
yeah.
I would like go around and be like,
That-
I want some bean sprouts, and then like grab it and eat it. And then I quickly grew out of that, but
Yeah, well,
that's the
did-
half banana thing. You
right.
just like walk
but
in.
did
eat
you? So
some.
you? I mean, it sounds like your mom was confused about
Didn't grow
grocery
out of it.
stores.
Probably true.
Or that's the
She
thing that's
won't-
okay to do in certain grocery stores and not other grocery stores.
Yes,
Yeah.
also that maybe she was used to like street markets
Maybe
or something.
she knew the
I don't know.
manager or something.
Maybe I have no idea, but I used to eat things at grocery stores, so the half enough banana thing, not the weirdest.
At the Orange Street Food Farm, babies or children get a free banana.
They're not full hunkers though. They're pretty small.
They're the little ones, and they're like about to go.
Yeah.
Oh.
And there's a big minion statue holding them.
There's a giant weird metal minion that supplies bananas to children
But when
at
kids
the
walk
grocery
in,
store
they're
where we
fucking
go.
amped to get a banana.
Yeah, man.
Is it my turn?
It's your turn, banana bread
it's your
girl.
turn.
Because you. A big problem with radiation is radiation cleanup because being poisoned by radiation is not a good thing.
Yep.
And like ionizing radiation is bad on the outside, but on the inside it can be even worse.
That's
and
just your opinion.
yeah. Okay, fair. But it's my opinion based on science. And so on like the Fukushima nuclear disaster, I don't know a lot about it, but one source I read said it involved a lot of cesium reactions, which is one of those radioactive elements. So that's still around in the same way that radiation is still around Chernobyl. And there's the danger of people inhaling or ingesting stuff with cesium. And there is one recommended treatment for cesium poisoning. Also thallium, which is another radioactive, potentially radioactive element, recommended by the CDC, the World Health Organization, like a bunch of different organizations. And
Can I guess?
yeah,
Are we going to all guess?
you can
I
guess.
wanna guess,
I can
too.
give a hint if you want.
Okay,
help,
what's the
but
hint?
I don't want a hint.
I don't
You
want
don't
a
want a
hint.
hint?
Yeah, no
Okay.
hint.
You have to go to the Orange Street Food Farm
Yep.
and then buy. Is it something I can get at
Used
the Orange
milk?
Street Food Farm?
I don't know enough about orange. You can get it at Albertsons. Well, you can get a variant of it at Albertsons probably.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say that it was like you need to like do milk enemas and like bathe in milk
After
and drink
Fruit
lots
Loops.
of milk and just be covered in milk.
Oh.
I don't know why.
Wow.
It
I
just
was also
seems like
milk
guessing
seems like milk
Oh.
seems like the great neutralizer.
There's
Like,
some
does.
video
It's
game where
what-
you drink
bathe in
milk,
milk.
and makes radiation go away, but I can't remember what video game it is.
Yeah.
Really?
Might be Minecraft or something like that.
It's not milk.
Yeah, I just feel like when like I eat something really spicy, I should have some milk.
Oh,
So it's like that,
sure.
like spicy food,
Yeah.
cesium
That makes
poisoning,
sense.
very
That's
similar.
similar.
There's something you can get at
My
Albertsons
guess
and-
before you said Albertsons would have been that you should infect yourself with hookworm. Because that seems like the magic pill for
Everybody's doing
everything.
that now.
Everyone's doing it.
Yep.
Eat a bunch of orange peels,
Not
Oh.
orange peels.
not orange peels, but I feel like I got closer. Banana peels.
The hint is it's found in Crayola crayons,
Wax.
not wax.
What else is in them?
What-
Yeah, I don't know.
What else is in a crayon?
Fat.
Whoa, what makes all the colors in the
Blue?
crayon?
Yeah,
Just
the
Sam's,
color-
Sam's on the way.
Just the color of blue.
Blue. Yep,
Is it
Blue.
blue?
it's Prussian blue.
Oh.
The pigment.
The pigment Prussian blue.
Pigment Prussian blue.
So okay, what do I do with it?
You eat it.
So you're
Both
supposed
ends. Both ends are just one end.
Just one end.
Okay.
Usually, you could probably
Both
stick it up
ends.
there, but
Yeah, what
Oh,
both ends of
your
what?
butt in your
Sam couldn't
mouth.
remember the other end.
the butt.
You said eat it.
No, I thought you meant of the crayon.
Yeah,
Like,
me
why
too.
does it matter?
The pointy end of the flat end. Who cares, dude?
I'm right there with you.
Both ends is always referring to the body.
You said eat it with your butt? Are you
Yeah.
eating it if you put it in your butt?
You're not. What's that guy?
No, you're not.
Who can ingest air?
Lepetamine?
Lepetamine?
No.
You can't open your colon in the cold
He
water.
could have sucked so many crayons up his butt.
We were just talking about enemas, or Hank just said something about enemas.
Do you think? Tell me if this is something or if it's nothing.
Okay. Yep.
Could lepetamine smoke weed in his ass?
Whoa, yeah, of
Well,
course he could.
What do you mean by smoke?
Well, I mean, like, could he put a pipe in his ass?
If he had
I guess.
well,
yeah,
he could
if you
do
inhale.
that.
Okay.
If he had a volcano vaporizer, he could suck it up too. It'd be easier, probably.
Probably.
Well,
But I
yeah.
want to know. I want to know if he can use just like a Coke can with some holes poked in it.
He could do anything, probably.
Or an apple core.
Yeah.
Can you, if you put smoke in your ass, does that work?
Yeah.
It-
I mean,
it's
just like
but
your
it's
lungs.
not-
obviously, like
It's
we've talked
basically
about
like your
alcohol in
lungs.
there, but
Yeah.
It's
I
like
guess
your lungs,
so.
but with less surface area.
On a different episode of Holy Fucking Science, I talked about tobacco smoke enemas, which
Oh,
people
yeah.
thought were used to save people who were drowning, but really it just made them sick.
I remember
Oh,
this.
that's
What?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the river.
From the
pig
river,
pulling-
yeah, on the
This
side.
is like the
Seems
drowning
bad.
kit.
I didn't
They
listen
just,
to that one.
blow,
Put smoke
blow
in the
Tobacco
ass.
tobacco smoke in
They
your
had
butt.
like a
When? What time frame? What time?
Long
I don't
period.
know, like
Victorian.
Long enough ago.
Victorian sounds right.
Yeah, they were doing all
know.
kinds of weird stuff back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay.
And then they
So-
just put leeches up there too.
Whoa.
But
So
I
you
think
could probably
that Lepetamin could totally get wasted.
From his ass.
Blowing smoke out it, and he just like
Do you think you could do rings?
ooh smoke rings, yeah.
Oh.
While
He
playing
didn't have a
like
tongue in
Jingle
there,
Bells.
yeah,
Oh.
just like with his ass or just like on the
Yeah,
xylophone.
could he get different notes
Yeah,
from his butthole,
Uh-huh.
not from the trombone or
right.
whatever?
Yeah, from his butthole.
I guess it's like if you change the diameter of it.
Yeah, and just
You
like
could
squeeze
probably-
it a little more. or-
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't feel like I have control over my note.
Well, you know Lepetamin.
Yeah, I got to work on this.
I'm sorry, Ceri.
That's okay.
You were doing.
Butts are
so-
good.
It's okay. Butts are great.
Are you supposed to eat the crayon, or do you
The crayon
eat
was just
Prussian
my
blue?
in. You eat Prussian
Okay.
blue.
Okay.
So what does Prussian blue do?
The chemical name for it is, there's a lot of them, but ferric hexacyanoferrate or ferric ferrocyanide. It basically has a bunch of iron, carbon, and nitrogen in it. And what it does is it just binds to the radioactive elements really, really well.
Well, and that's part of the thing about radioactive elements sometimes is that they actually like get incorporated into your proteins or like they replace things in your enzymes and they make your enzymes not work, but also stick around forever, releasing alpha particles.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get them out of your body.
Exactly. Yeah. Cesium is an analog for potassium.
Right. Yeah. Then you're totally
Which is
fucked.
all over your
Yeah.
muscles. Like that's how all your muscles contract, and it's really integrated into how your body works.
And I tell you, when your muscles stop working, you die.
Oh,
Man, it's all
Yeah.
over.
oh no.
'cause your
'Cause your heart's a muscle.
Your heart's a muscle. That's the big one.
Yeah.
Your diaphragm too.
You need to make
Yeah.
your breathers work.
You got to make your breathers work.
Yeah.
Glad we have you on this show, Sam.
All the poop would just come out of your butt.
Oh yeah.
Well,
your
yeah,
sphincter.
yeah.
That's what
your
happens when
sphincters
you
loosen.
die.
Well, would the food even move through your stomach? Or your whatever, your guts?
Maybe depends on what orientation you are.
If you were upside up, it would be okay. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that is what I meant. But I think that I mean that if you were upside up, it would fall out.
Yeah.
But probably not. Like it depends on where it is. If it's already in your rectum, yeah, it'll just fall out.
Oh, man. I like Upside Up. That's a good.
Yeah.
phrase.
Upside up. It's a very good album
That's a
title.
thing, isn't it?
You
Yeah,
say
that's
right
the-
side up normally.
Right side up.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
my parents said upside up.
Oh, really? I
I
love
they
it.
did.
Yeah, I like
I'm
it.
gonna
I don't want to
switch.
put them
I'm
on
gonna
blast,
use
but I
ones.
think they did.
Well, even if you're upside up, the poop will fall out of you, but also the radioactive isotopes of cesium that are throughout your body will still be emitting ionizing radiation.
Right.
Yeah.
So they'll still be releasing high energy particles that will interact with your cells and also cause cancer as your muscles are failing.
Damn.
And oftentimes, I think like destroy the lining of your digestive system, which is a really bad way to go. I mean, they're all bad.
They're
all
all-
the radiation poisoning ways to go are all bad.
Yeah, but your digestive lining is where all this gets absorbed. So like if you inhale, I guess it's through your lungs, but if you ingest anything with
Right.
enough cesium, then like the target area for it is to try and get at that poison, that radioactive isotope before it gets absorbed by your stomach or your intestine, like in any way. That's why ingesting Prussian blue is a thing, and they just have it was invented as a synthetic pigment a while ago, and it's named Prussian blue because it was used to dye army uniforms and was really cheap and good.
It's one of the Bob Ross colors.
I didn't know that. I didn't watch Bob Ross, but yeah,
Pretty
it was one
standard
of,
oil
Fucking
paint
Twitch.
color.
it was one of the first Crayola crayons, and so it.
Do they keep it on hand?
What do you mean?
At like a nuclear reactor, is there like a vial of Prussian blue just in case?
I think
that they can
it's-
like kick across the ground as Indiana Jones tries to grab it.
I think they keep it in a lot of like med kits in relation to radiation, like in times when you can be radiation or poisoned by
Right.
radiation.
Yeah.
It is actually like the number one treatment. Like if you ingest something radioactive, like a radioactive heavy metal, you should ingest a pill of insoluble Prussian blue.
Do
I
you
wonder if they have that on the
poop
space
blue?
station.
I don't think you poop blue. It makes you constipated.
Ooh.
As a side effect. But I from what I understand, what it does is it just like reacts and binds to like something about the Prussian blue molecule, like part of it. This paper said maybe the hydronium ion ? Just swaps out with the cesium, so it still passes through you. It's insoluble. You don't absorb the Prussian blue. It just like grabs onto as much of the metal as possible, and then you pass it out. So I assume because it's a bright blue pigment, your poop would also be blue.
Yeah.
It also is like a regular treatment. So you're taking these Prussian blue pills over time, and that's how they measure it, is they test the radiation in your pee and poop and see how much is being pulled out of your body as you take this treatment plan of basically blue pigment in your body. And I think I'm not exactly sure how like nutrient exchange works, and especially when it comes to something like a radioactive metal, but it sounded like even if cesium gets distributed into your tissues, you can still take, like, it's more effective if you take it right away, but if you take it, it will still like leach it out of your stomach lining and your soft tissues and bind to it and help you pass it out as harmlessly as possible.
I'm glad that we know this. And we should get some for the office.
Oh.
Just because,
Why?
not
Is there
in case of
something you
radiation.
know?
Just because I want us all to take some.
Have
See
blue
what happens.
poop.
To see if we get blue
Oh.
poop. Because apparently it's harmless.
That's mostly what
Yeah.
I'm curious about. I wanna
Relatively
have
harmless.
Or we
blue
could just eat
poop.
some crayons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both ends.
How'd they figure this out? Did somebody eat a crayon?
I don't know how they figured it out. I wish I knew, but it just sounded like this is something that like people have been doing for a while.
Yeah.
My guess is that like the person who invented it was a chemist, and
He just knew what was up.
yeah, he knew what was up in 1706.
Oh, shit.
Huh.
But I don't think
Whoa.
they used it for radiation back then. It's probably just
They didn't
something.
really have a lot of radiation
Yeah.
back then.
They just used it as a dye. So
Oh, I thought you meant the person who invented it as a treatment.
oh no, he didn't use it as a treatment.
Okay.
And so I think for a very long time it was just used for coloring.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that at some point chemists looked at it, or chemists were looking for a
Mhm.
way to like bind to heavy metals, radioactive metals, and
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
like, man, this combination works really well. It's also used to test for something else that I didn't look into. A glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency, which doesn't seem
Uh-oh.
like it has anything to do with
Sounds bad, though.
It just
Yeah.
makes you break down your red blood cells faster.
It could have also been some kind of like Homer
Metabolism.
Simpson situation where there's a guy who's exposed to lots of radiation but also eats lots of crayons. And he was,
They were
and he
just
was okay.
But he's okay for some
fine.
reason.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh,
Prussian blue, the chemical name is potassium ferric hexacyanoferrate, which is wonderful.
Yeah, she said that earlier.
Oh,
I did say that. I mispronounced it a little bit. So.
I was elsewhere.
You said it very lyrically, though.
Okay.
Ooh.
Thanks.
With meter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For thallium, it may be used in addition to a gastric lavage.
Ooh, now
Ooh,
that sounds
bad.
good.
What is
I
that?
bet it's not. I bet it's
I bet
not.
it's
My
really
feeling is
painful.
that it's
It
not
sounds
good.
like pumping.
It makes
What?
me want
It's
a
like a tube in your
It seems
stomach.
like your butt's
It is a
involved.
tube
in
in your stomach
From
via
which
the mouth or
direction, though?
nose. From which direction?
from both ends.
From upside up
Just
or
both.
upside down?
I believe it is. Wait, I think it's like stomach pumpy,
Huh.
followed by sequential administration and removal of small volumes of liquid. Yeah.
Still sound nice, Stefan?
Yeah, it makes me want a gastric massage.
No,
God,
no.
why?
to like squish your stomach.
Is that
around.
just somebody like, what is
yeah,
that?
just a little like, ooh, help it digest.
Oh yeah,
baby.
it's like when you do like child's pose and it's supposed to like get your fluids
Oh.
going. Yeah.
I didn't know that was
Of course.
part of child's pose.
Or like the one where you're in a ball. What's that one called?
cannonball.
Shavasa or something.
Did you say kielbasa?
No. I'm not gonna say it because it's probably pronounced wrong.
We gotta go to the next thing.
It's
We gotta
me.
go to the next
Okay.
thing. All right, Sam brought a thing. We gotta.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else for us, Ceri?
I found the same Wikipedia as you, and it says with long-term use, sweat may turn blue. So I want to use it.
Yes,
please.
Let's go, Crayola.
Yeah. First my poop turned blue, then my sweat turns blue. Then we can
It's
all
like
turn.
the Gatorade commercials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my last thing, and I just learned it.
You think that's what they use in the Smurf cereal that made your poop blue?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, just ground up crayons.
Yeah.
It makes me want, and we
Yeah.
can move on to your thing right after this, but
can
this
we?
is
Thanks.
really important.
Okay.
It makes me want in like Fallout 4 or something to be like one of the things you're trying to find is like blue crayons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To like protect against.
Oh, really?
No.
No.
No, it's not. That's in a
You
game
gotta
of
put it
that
in.
type.
You're
You
gonna
gotta
have
do
a
it.
mod or
Design.
something.
Okay,
Yeah.
you gotta put
Do
it
it.
in.
TM.
TM.
Hey, it's my turn.
Yes.
Yep.
I want to talk about the two coolest things in the universe. Guess what they are?
My wife and my son.
No.
Boom.
So wrong. You're so wrong. Number 1, cosmic radiation. It's
pretty cool.
Number 2, smoking weed. Which I don't do. I don't smoke weed.
But you think it's really cool.
But it's
though.
really cool.
This is a sidetrack. I'm editing a script about bereavement and grief, and the main book that a lot of grief theory was based on was published in 1969, and I was just like, nice in my head. And that was
time.
Yeah, every time. It's
Not
like,
appropriate
Not
for the script.
appropriate at all. We're talking about dead people and loss. But,
Nice.
Okay.
Is smoking weed one of the ways you can deal with the whole thing, though?
Oh, I don't know, man.
Probably.
Couldn't
I don't know,
hurt.
probably. There are a lot of ways. Anyway, tune into SciShow to watch that infusion.
Okay, so it's the future. You're floating in space in a spacesuit. You're looking at the sun or something, and you're smoking a bong. That's everybody's.
I was looking some kind of like internal spacesuit bong.
You put your arms in, and you have the bong in there.
Just,
And you go,
am I okay? What? Well,
are you
continue.
what?
Sure.
I
Okay.
can answer all the
I feel
questions
like
you
it
have.
should be built into the suit, and then I've got like a
It's
valve.
built into the
for-
suit. There's one tube for your oxygen, one
Yeah.
tube for your bong oxygen. You press the button.
I definitely
there.
feel like I'm vaping at least. It just seems unlikely that there's going to be an open flame.
I didn't consider vaping. I think a thing in your spacesuit. I think that would be funnier.
Right.
Personally. Okay, so that is everybody's dream of the future, right?
Yeah, that's the only
Sure.
thing I
But
want.
what if this dream was a nightmare?
Oh no!
So this is the worst side effect of radiation possible. In a study, in the journal Brain Structure and Function in 2017, suggests that cosmic rays, which is like the most high person thing to say, cosmic rays, that maybe they can prevent our ability to enjoy smoking weed in space.
Oh no!
So.
How the fuck did someone do science on this?
They did it on mice. Okay. So cosmic radiation can block your endocannabinoid receptors,
Okay.
which basically
Yeah.
would nullify any effect that weed would have on you.
Do we know how?
Or why?
Let me look at my notes. I mean, I think
these, like,
how. I don't
so-
really know. I couldn't figure out how exactly.
Curious whether like are those receptors like important for the medicinal uses of cannabis, or like would that still be an effective use?
Yes, they are important for the medicinal uses of
Okay.
cannabis.
Yeah, they do a ton of stuff. So
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they don't just get you
they have a funny name, but they're very important.
wasted, roasted, toasted. What do they say?
I have no idea.
I forgot because you said all those bad things. You said
all
wasted
the wrong
earlier, which is
ones.
not right.
Yeah.
It's like
Toasted.
blazed. It's blazed.
Blazed.
Yeah. You smoke some trees in space, nothing happens. So usually the magnetosphere
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
on the Earth protects us from those harmful rays, so we can smoke as much weed as we want to.
We still get down there. There's just less.
Well, all right,
Oh
But-
boy.
Okay.
Way
less than there are in space.
It's
way less than space.
Way
yes.
less than space.
Yeah.
I just
But
love
they're
that you
still around.
framed this as the worst side effect of
What are the two coolest
cosmic
things? But they
radiation.
don't mix.
So I don't know how it blocks it exactly, but they
It seems like a weird
put
mechanism.
mice in a thing and they shot cosmic rays at them. And for months afterwards, these receptors were still blocked.
Oh.
Shit.
Oh.
Which
so
actually,
even,
like, they were kind of burying the lead, I think, with this article because these receptors are responsible for memory, appetite, metabolism, stress
Yeah.
response,
Yeah.
pain
Bunch of
reception,
stuff.
sleep. And these things are all things that affect astronauts when they go into space for a long time. So it's like not just smoking weed, but also there are like Alzheimer's types effects on the brain subjected to cosmic radiation for extended amounts of time.
How long did these mice get shot with cosmic rays?
I do not know.
Okay, but it extended.
Yeah, I don't think it was probably more than like how much is a space mission?
A year sometimes is like the longer ones.
I don't think it was that long.
Right, well, yeah, those are very long missions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but that's scary
That
for
is.
poor Scott Kelly. You got
I think he was the only one who was up there for a year.
I think there was
straight.
some Russians that have
Oh,
done
okay.
Is there any way? I have so many thoughts and
Yeah.
questions. Like, one, I would like to know: can we study Scott Kelly's brain and see if his endocannabinoid
it. We
receptors
certainly
are
can.
okay?
In fact, I think that
I'm
he
sure
sort of
they
signed
are.
up for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that they found the same things, right?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't,
Oh, I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure,
I don't know if they've looked at his brain.
but they at least theorized that people would have the same, they would have the same negative effects on people
Yeah.
that it does on mice.
Well, there is like, I mean, cosmic rays, Ceri,
Yes.
go real fast, and they like mostly go through us. Is that right?
I think so.
So it's not something that like a mouse brain would be more exposed to because it's smaller than a human brain. Because
I don't think so. I think they're like fairly consistent throughout. Like they
Yeah.
affect computers everywhere too.
super high energy.
So how do you send somebody to like Mars
Well,
and deal with this? You just build the right kind of ship?
Oh,
or?
maybe you send a lot of weed.
Oh.
You just
Yeah,
get
but it
the
wouldn't
real
do
dank
anything.
shit.
Well,
I thought you were gonna say send a
Don't
lot
know.
of people.
I also
Like, are they
thought people.
like using the outer people as a shield?
yeah, they're all standing in a big group.
No, but maybe the space station astronauts need to be vaping marijuana.
Yeah, maybe weed
Just
is
to,
some
like,
kind of
keep
answer
those-
to this.
those
Because
things
it does.
activated.
It opens up all those
Oh.
tunnels, man,
feel like-
and it like lets all the stuff in.
It opens
It
up all
opens
those
those
tunnels,
tunnels,
man.
It
Like
opens up
tunnels
your
of
brain
death.
tunnels.
He
It
doesn't
does.
even. He's not even a smoker. What do they call a smoker? Person who smokes weed.
A cool guy. They don't call him anything anymore.
No, that's like a word.
pothead.
A pothead. He's not even a. I don't know.
But
Nobody has said that.
Who said
Ever.
I don't know. What do you?
You're like your
We're clearly
dare
the
officer
group.
said that in the '80s, and that was the last time
Yeah,
anybody
yeah.
said that.
Thesaurus, pothead,
Yeah,
so
great.
like bigger concern. If you bring up weed,
stoner.
that's the word.
That's the one. Okay.
It won't.
It's actually in the thesaurus, you guys.
Science. It won't. Like if we don't know what's happening, I have like 3 guesses. 1, it breaks your receptor somehow. 2, it breaks another molecule, so it binds to the receptor irreversibly. 3, I don't remember what my third guess was because I got distracted by stoner. But
I don't think
me,
it breaks it. I
To
think
me,
they
what
get
it
better.
sounds like is it probably changes the conformation just enough. Like it probably knocks something somewhere so that the endocannabinoid receptor is a slightly different shape,
yeah.
and so isn't as good as at receiving.
The way the article phrased it was it blocked it.
Okay,
know if that
so
means
maybe
anything
maybe
different.
it created a molecule that bound to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
You can't remember the other one.
yeah, I don't remember the other one. But like cosmic radiation is just like high energy particle, so it can shift electrons around where they shouldn't be. So
Yeah.
it's possible that a conformation change would be a blocking of it in some
Right.
way.
But like,
yeah,
in that case, sending them up with a bunch of weed wouldn't do anything.
That's what I'm
right?
saying. Yeah, like if the problem
Well,
is with
it's
the,
not ever going to be. It's not like the thing isn't 100%. Usually,
true.
it's probabilities, and like you get like
Yeah.
10% few, and like that might be a big deal, and it might be like, hey, you know what you need? 420 blaze it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it opens up
'cause
all the tunnels. I think.
or you just oversaturate your brain with
Yeah.
molecules that could bind to endocannabinoid receptors.
Right.
So when they do have the right form, they just like automatically go in and then blaze it.
That's a sciencey way of saying it opens up all the tunnels. Isn't it the same thing if you really think about it?
Kinda.
Oh my God, Merriam-Webster has the worst list of synonyms for stoner I have ever seen.
Can you-
Even I know this isn't with
And
it.
you have demonstrated
with
that
the
you know
times.
nothing.
Addict,
Oh, come
Dope
on.
head.
Oh, come on.
fiend,
Hmm.
freak.
Oh.
I like that we apparently, and then it says after freak, slang. Like all these things are slang.
The other ones weren't.
Then just the word head. I don't know what that
Well,
means.
it's like a head shop.
I guess. Hophead. Hype, which
Hype?
no.
I don't know
Hype is
that
a
one.
person who uses hypodermic needles to do drugs. So not at all like a stoner. Junkie, doper, and user. And I'm like, wow, I tell you. I got a right to Mr. and Mr.
That's-
Merriam and Webster.
That's
It just like goes
appropriately
to show.
dry for a Merriam-Webster entry.
guess.
I guess. I don't know.
This isn't Urban Dictionary here.
Now I'm on Power Thesaurus.
Oh, yeah.
Snowbird.
Snowbird.
All right. Hey, I feel like
well,
you got more for us?
No, not really. But the
Okay.
last quote made me mad when I read it. In this Science Alert article, it said, some dude said this. You laugh now, but on a long trip to Mars, recreation and medical marijuana use will likely become a highly controversial issue. So I stand by the utmost importance of this study. Which, first of all, shut up. Like, why won't I hope
Just lead with
people?
the brain thing.
Yeah, lead with the brain thing. That's way more important than this. But I hope
Yeah.
people will have chilled the fuck out by the time we go. We send people to Mars, and then we're thinking about they might be smoking pot up there.
Oh, that's totally going to be an issue.
I know, it's so dumb though.
It is super dumb.
Legalize
But
it,
I
baby.
got to tell you that they're
2018.
definitely not going to have bongs. They're going to be vaping because it's bad to have open flames in space.
Somebody's gonna sneak a bong on there.
They're gonna blow it up.
No, yeah, it was-
They'll be
like,
worth
is there
it.
a worse way to end your mission to Mars? Like somebody misused their bong.
Oh my god.
No.
Can you use a bong? How do you pack your bong in 0G?
You can't. I don't think you
You'd
can.
have to design a special space bomb.
There had to be some kind of goo
I
involved
mean, like
with
and
the
also like
something.
vape juice is always going to be lower mass than taking up a whole bunch of bud.
Uh-huh.
I say as if I know what I'm talking about.
You either have never smoked weed in your life, or you smoke a ton of weed and you're pretending like you. And I can't tell which one it is. You just have bud.
The world will never know. What's wrong with bud?
Well, I don't know. I hang out with some people who smoke some drugs, and I know what they say, and I've never heard them say that.
Look, I'm 37. During my weed smoking years, there was different lingo. Back in the 90s, we called it bud.
Okay.
Thanks
Is that
for listening
true?
to this episode.
Oh my.
Did we? I don't know.
You're a friggin' narc. You're the cops, dude. You're gonna send this to the FBI, and I'm gonna get arrested.
Sam just got really paranoid, even though apparently he doesn't smoke at all. Just had 2 shake-a-days and is a little bit wibbly.
1.5.
1.5. All right. This has been a wonderful episode. Thank you all
Yeah.
for joining me and hanging out.
time.
Thanks to Caitlin Hofmeister for sitting back there and making sure all our sound is sounding good, making the video work. Thanks to everybody who hang out in the live stream. You can do that if you're a SciShow patron, if you go to patreon.com/SciShow. This episode will be edited by somebody on the SciShow team who draws that short straw. So
Me
thanks to whoever's listening to
Or
this.
tuna.
Or just
Hiroka.
Tuna. It's just Tuna or Hiroka,
Or
usually.
me.
Or Sam.
Or
Or
me.
Sam.
Yeah, one of us 3.
Thanks, one of you 3.
Thanks.
I am Hank Green.
I'm Stefan Chin.
I'm Ceri Riley.
I'm Sam Schultz.
And this has been
Holy fucking science!